Life can move and shake you like an earthquake. When this happens, you have to learn to shake and move the best way you can, like I do. Join Dakota Caldwell on The Dakota Show, putting life in you and your family's lives.
This part of the show contains prayer, so if you would choose to, you can go fast forward to the interview of the month. On August 26, 2021, 13 U.S. service members from the U.S. Marine Corps, U.S. Navy, and U.S. Army were killed in a suicide bombing attack during evacuation at the Cabo Airport. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. When I hear 13 U.S. service members, my heart just aches for them and their families. Right now, I'm worried about their families, and I'm worried about them. And so, at this time, I would ask that if you will, bow your heads in prayer with me. Lord, as I come to you today, I want to just bring something to the country, and I want you to heal the country as well. As you know, 13 U.S. service members died on August 26th. And as you can tell, Lord, our country is aching. 13 U.S. members. Lord, I pray for their family, for healing. I pray that they would get peace in their lives down the road. Lord, and I know they're hurting and still hurting. Lord, I just want to thank them, the U.S. members that fought for our country. That, yes, they go out and they put their life on the line. And a lot of times nowadays, when they put their life on the line, I think we just assume, yeah, they're gonna come home. And this time, these people put their life on the line and didn't come home. Lord, I pray for some of the country now, that they would just put the politics behind what's happened and focus on the families and focus on the servicemen and let them know that, hey, we can focus on the politics later. Yes, I know that part may be important to people, and who knows what exactly happened right now. But I think as a country, I think we need to be there for one another. I pray all this stuff in Jesus' name. Amen. everyone. I'm here with Kevin Brown from Grand Avenue Community Outreach. Man, they do so much stuff there, and it is amazing because it is all community based uh, as well and faith based too. So I am so happy to have Kevin Brown with us today. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm really excited that you stopped by and told me about the show and then invited me on. This is pretty cool. So, thanks for having me. And how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. I'm a little busy, but I'm doing
Yeah,
good. September is a little busy because as you know, it's the fair month. If people listening are not from around here, um, we have a huge Clay County fair, so it is kind of a busy month for I think all of us, really. So yeah, but other than that, I've been doing.
good, good.
Um, so let's talk about the Grand Avenue Community Outreach Kitchen you guys have there.
That's a great place to start. That's probably our newest ministry that we directly oversee. So, kind of the way that this all works over here at Grand Avenue Community Outreach is we inherited this building at the beginning of 2018 from the Spencer Dream Center, and they had some programs that they were doing in the space that equated to about 20 hours each month worth of outreach services between the food pantry and the clothing outreach and the medical clinic and the dental clinic. They also had a housing program going for a little while as well. And so basically when we came in, there were some things that were working really well and some things that weren't working as well. And so we kept the things that were working really well and streamlined those. And that would be the clinics and the food and clothing outreach, that food pantry especially. The numbers that is true. It's impressive to see those kind of numbers, especially when you think of this as what our mission statement says we are, as a volunteer-driven organization. But really what it boils down to is it's kind of based on the concept of a soup kitchen. So it's a community meals program that's available for anybody and everybody that wants to come in and be a part of it. And that means volunteers, financial partners, and then of course the people that come in and have supper with us. So it's open 2 nights per week. On Mondays and Thursdays from 5 until 6:30 p.m. So over the dinner hour for most people. And the idea with that was we knew we didn't have enough need where we would have to be open all the time, 3 meals a day, 7 days a week. So we did some little needs analysis in the beginning, which would have been October of 2019. It opened in November. So we found that there was a bit of a gap on some of the evenings. We'll say there's not a consistent community meal that happens, meaning there's not a meal on, for sure on Wednesday nights you're going to be doing this and Tuesdays you're doing this. There were and are community meals that happen throughout the month. But in a week's time, we thought, let's do Monday night and let's do Thursday night. And that doesn't conflict with any of the other community meals that are offered in a given month. And the other thought was the evenings, after the kids get out of school, there are some kids in our community that get a full meal for lunch during the school day and maybe a snack later. But then they're having to wait until the next school day, some of them, to get a meal. And so having these available in the evenings, we were hoping that we could really help fill that gap a couple nights a week for especially the kids. But what we've found is, I would say the most represented demographic of people that come into our meals would be the elderly population. And before March of 2020, so the first few months of its existence, we saw a huge increase in that age range coming in, not just for an awesome, healthy meal, but the social piece of it as well. So social isolation is a real issue, and it really it's terrible. And we've all learned that, I think, as a society over the last 18 months with
Yeah.
COVID, especially in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
But before that, it was really affecting our elderly population in town. And so coming down here and having a meal and getting to meet other people. While they're doing it was a huge piece of the success in the beginning, and it gave our volunteers a chance to really get their feet on the ground before March of 2020. So when that happened, of course, everything shut down in the world, and there was a lot of economic uncertainty and things like that, and so more people were needing those kind of services. We've always marketed our community meals as it doesn't matter if you truly need a free meal or if you just want to come in and have a meal. It really doesn't matter. And so the folks that come in that don't necessarily, quote, need a meal, those are the folks that when they're done eating, they'll leave a few bucks. When COVID, we knew we couldn't stop. We had to continue offering these meals out. And so fortunately for us, we have a drive-through window attached to our building. So when COVID happened, we closed our coffee shop down and used the drive-through window of our coffee shop to offer out these free meals, as well as other services that happen in the building that we could talk about later. But the meals specifically went through the drive-through window, all of them. And the ones that didn't work out that way, we, with the help of the Clay County Hunger Coalition, created a delivery service through cccovidrelief.org, which that site still exists today. But that was designed to connect people that wanted to volunteer their time with people that were in need of certain things during the height of COVID. And what our organization got out of that was this delivery service. And so there are a few people in the community that get their meals delivered to them. Again, totally by volunteers, and that's a volunteer opportunity we're always looking to fill, is people to help come down here, pick up some meals, and take them out into the community. But the volunteer opportunities in our kitchen are they're pretty. If you think about it, how many meals go out? Just to give you an idea, in 2020 alone, there were over 10,000 meals served in Grand Avenue Community Kitchen. So if you let that sink in for a second, you think of all the time that went into making those things happen. And we had tremendous need for volunteers then, and that still exists today. In 2021, we still definitely need volunteer help. And we've had a tremendous amount of volunteers to make all of that possible. There's kind of a core group that come in and do a lot of the cooking, but it's the serving and cleaning up that is more time consuming. And so we've been fortunate in our community that different businesses, 4-H groups, Bible studies, church groups, etc., come in to help with that part. So we've got the cooking pretty well covered for the most part, most days, and so it's the serving and the cleanup that really is I would say probably a bigger need volunteer wise. There are occasions where certain church groups, when they come in, they want to do the whole meal. So they'll come in the afternoon on those days and they'll start prepping and cooking.
Wow.
And then they'll continue through serving
awesome.
And cleaning up. Doesn't happen every week, but that's something that we're really blessed to have as well. And what we found, especially with the businesses that get involved, they like to use this as an opportunity for team building. So they'll have their staff come over here after work and serve meals, and it's a good way for them to bond outside of the four walls of their office. And so we've been blessed so far, and we're only getting better. I mean, we're in the process now of streamlining those volunteer opportunities, implementing a little bit of training into it so that people know what to expect when they come in, and just to make it run a little neater than it has before. And so that's in a nutshell what Grand Avenue Community Kitchen is all about.
Wow, that's a lot of information, but it's interesting, like you said, 10,000 meals. Wow, that just kind of silences you for a second in a good way, because you're like, man, I've got everything, and I've got everything I need. And sometimes I think we, as Americans, Christians, whatever, we take for granted those kinds of things. And There are people in your local community. It doesn't have to be in a different country. There's people in your local community that doesn't have a meal on their table every night. So
Admittedly, yeah, we were a little skeptical at first when we were approached about starting a community meals program in a town of 10,000 people in a county of 15,000. We thought, well, over 15, but we thought, wow, that I don't know if that's the best use of the space. And so we, like I said, we did that needs analysis, and even then we weren't fully convinced that this is, logically we weren't convinced that this was what we needed to do. But luckily, in a faith-based organization, we have the power of prayer. And when our board of directors gets together, they pray before, during, and after every one of their meetings, as well as outside of the meeting time. And several of us felt led by God to at least give this a shot. And so we did. And as we're seeing now, and as I said, just in 2020 alone, to have this thing get off the ground 4 or 5 months before a worldwide pandemic, and then the way that we were able to adapt to that new normal tells me that community, and that's really what keeps us alive down here. I think back to the beginning of our time in 2018, we were having some uncertain times for sure through then and even 2019, and a lot of things changed in 2019 for us, and now we've come out on the other side much stronger than we were before, and it's looking now like we're definitely in it for the long haul here. Things are looking really well down here at the outreach, and
also on the first floor, you guys have the Tangi Internet Cafe. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I've made reference to it a few times when I was talking about the kitchen. So one of the big changes that happened, we had a couple big changes in that area of our ministry in 2019. Mid-year, we rebranded what used to be Terrazzo Coffee House into the Tangi Cafe, and of course the Tangi name is getting a lot more press now than it has before. But that is actually etched into the side of our building, Hotel Tangi, and the reason for that, of course, is that this was always known as the Tangi Hotel. It was built by the Tangi family 100 years ago, and so we wanted to pay homage to that when we opened up this cafe. And so that would have been, like I said, mid-year, probably July that we did that. And so for about 90 days, our Terrazzo Coffee House operated on a much smaller scale as the Tangi Cafe. And then we found that it really wasn't going to be sustainable long-term. There were a lot of financial issues that plagued it even before the rebrand, but that was kind of our last we do here. The folks in the cafe were really good about being able to answer those questions. So we fast forward a little bit to around the time that the Grand Avenue Community Kitchen opened, and we have now been dealing with the Tangi Internet Cafe. So it's a space that's still available to the public with access to high-speed internet, totally free of charge. And so that's where the Internet Cafe, we've got coffee beans that come in from, and part of their ministry is to have the kids learn enterprise, learn the business world, and learn how to roast coffee beans. And so that's where Endless Sea Coffee comes from. They've got 5 or 6 different roasts of coffee that they do from all different countries all over the world. And so we partner with them to purchase some of those beans, and we serve that coffee right there in our coffee shop in Tangi Internet Cafe. It's some of the best coffee I've had, and I'm kind of a snob when it comes to coffee, and I drink a lot of it, but that stuff is amazing. And of course the story behind it and the mission that it supports is even better. And to take it even a step further, it's really neat to see a faith-based organization in Storm Lake working so well with a faith-based organization in Spencer. I know in the school system, maybe there's some rivalries that go on in the sports teams and things like that between those two communities. But in the world of ministry, we look past those things, and we have a really great relationship with them. And like I said, the coffee is just top notch. So with that being said, we've got this cafe that's We've got the space and it's nice and quiet most days, and groups can come in and have a to be standing there a long time because we don't have it staffed or anything behind the counter. But if you wanted to leave a few bucks behind, there is a donation bin as you exit the cafe back out to the lobby that you could leave a couple bucks in to offset the cost of the coffee if you choose to do so.
Yeah, and I know that is the Bridge is a awesome organization too, and I did interview them as well on my show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mr. J. Dahlhauser, I interviewed him, so if you missed that interview and want to learn more about their programs and what their mission is, you can find it on our web page.
Yeah, there's so much more to it than just coffee. They do some
Yeah.
really great things with the bridge and community building in Storm Lake, so we love them.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal. So, yeah. So then my next question would be on your guys' second floor. Would be the Grand Avenue Free Medical Clinic on your second floor. Can you tell us a little bit about that, kind of?
Absolutely. That's one of our more tenured programs around here. So we do have a little bit of, I don't like the word control, but they are a little bit more part of what we do here. However, they are under the umbrella of the Free Clinics of Iowa. So they're partnered up with the Free Clinics of Iowa. They use space in our building, and we have a great connection. Well, actually, personally, I've got a wonderful connection with them. My wife is their administrator, so that's kind of fun fact there. But as I said in the beginning, that they were one of the programs that was here when the Dream Center was here. That's who originally started the free clinics, both of them. The medical clinic came first and the dental clinic came after that, and it's going on 10 years now. I'm thinking maybe 8 or 9 years ago that's when that started, but when we got involved, it was a very seamless transition. In fact, their MD, Dr. Daryl Forsland, that founded that clinic, was on our board of directors when we first got involved here. We were fortunate enough to have him stay involved with our board, and so there's a lot of great historical information that he knew, because he was also involved with the creation of the nonprofit that became the Spencer Dream Center. And so his efforts were mostly focused on the medical side of things, but he's also been a huge financial partner of ours to this day. And so anyways, the free medical clinic is available currently based on the need that we've seen for it, one time per month. And it's on the third Thursday from starting at 4 o'clock. And generally, they say it's from 4 till 8 o'clock. If a person wanted to come in to be seen by the physicians, it's recommended they get here between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock on those days, just to ensure that they get their appointment in. And then the providers are here working until about 8 o'clock at night. So it's a 4-hour window once per month. And again, that's based on where the need is at right now. We've noticed lately that the numbers of patients coming in for that service has declined over the last couple of years. So we're not quite sure what exactly is causing that. I know this time of year is a little bit different story, as a lot of folks have met their deductible for the year with their insurance, and they maybe go over to the hospital or Avera or Crown Clinics or Spencer Convenient Healthcare. There's a lot of great healthcare options in the community, but this particular program was designed for the uninsured and underinsured. Of course, insurance access has become a little easier over the last few years as well with the marketplace, healthcare.gov. But when a person comes to the clinic here, it's kind of a no questions asked type of a thing. Of course, there's a little bit of paperwork to fill out, but we really don't care what your income guidelines or what your income looks like or anything like that. It's mostly just come in and be served, and that's part of every program around here in our building. Really, is we just want to make sure that people are being taken care of. Sometimes there's some gaps in coverage for different services, whether it's food or medical or whatever it is, and so we want to be there to stand in those gaps. And this is one of the ways that we can do that. And so we work extremely well with the Spencer Hospital and the local clinics, with our medical clinic here. A lot of back and forth communication, not just in town, but also around the area. And, on average, they've been seeing lately with the decline, maybe 6 to 8 patients those nights that they're open. I think back to when we first got involved, it was closer to 10 or 12 and sometimes 14 patients a night. But
Oh, wow.
that number, like I said, has decreased a little bit. And, that hopefully means that we're healthier as a community and or that there's other really good options out there. But the medical clinic is one of those things that I think there's always going to be a need for that kind of service. And we are so fortunate to have the providers that are willing to take time out of their busy schedules to come and help us out, because they're volunteering their time, and some of them are still employed full time, either at the hospital or a local clinic. And so when they finish up their patient load for the day at their job, then they come here after work and continue working for 4 to 6 to 8 more hours after that, if you include the paperwork they do after the clinic closes. So it is quite an undertaking, and we're extremely grateful for the providers that have been helping, and that's another place where there's always a need for some fresh perspective and more help in that department. So if anyone listens to the show that's in healthcare, whether it's as a nurse or even an MD or a practitioner or anything like that, there's definitely a need there, which of course brings me to the dental clinic. That particular office is quite a bit busier than the medical clinic. Due to gaps in insurance coverage and things like that, they see an awful lot of patients. And again, it's no questions asked. Doesn't matter if you have insurance, doesn't matter if you have money or anything. You come in and you get served. The medical or the dental clinic, with it being a little busier, the waiting list has been known to be a little bit longer. But the way that it works to get into the dentist, they do work off of appointments. However, the first appointment is made through the medical clinic, and the medical clinic, of course, is available first come first served on those the third Thursdays of the month at 4:00. And so if someone needs some dental care, they would come in at 4:00 on the third Thursday of whatever month and let the physician know. Those folks would then go through a complete healthcare workup, or a physical, basically, to make sure that everything is on the up and up. And then from there, they get their first appointment with the dentist after making sure there aren't any underlying health issues. And after that first appointment with the dentist, they're scheduled with appointments, usually on Wednesdays after that, based on whatever the issue is. The 2 dental providers we have here come up with a complete treatment plan, and do anything from basic exams to minor oral surgery, like tooth extractions and things like that. So there's a lot of things they can do. And as far as things they don't necessarily deal with, those would be like cosmetic dentistry, or even dentures. They don't have the ability to deal with those, but they are partnered with some other dental clinics that can help with some of that stuff. So it's a really nice service to, again, stand in the gap. It's not going to be a replacement necessarily for your primary care, but it's definitely when someone comes in and maybe is getting some work done on the dental side or wherever they're at in the building, if they talk about other issues that are going on in their lives, we can, we all talk to each other. Of course, we don't violate HIPAA laws or anything like that. But if, let's say, for example, someone comes in to get some work done on their teeth, and they say, you know what, I don't have a job right now, and this is just really tough, and that's why I'm in this situation. We've got enough connections within the building and outside the building that we can generally help find or direct people to those places. And that's what I love about this building as a whole, is it's kind of a one-stop shop for those services. So it's really nice to have that communication amongst the programs that we oversee, as well as the partners in the building, which is, I think, really the secret sauce to our success is the partners. So,
but if you will touch on the Birthright program.
Absolutely. So Birthright was the first outside agency to come and do work out of our mission and vision were set up, is that all the services in the building would have been under one thumb. And we found that that's probably not the best way to do a ministry like this in a building this size. Not saying it's wrong, right, or anything else, but what we found was that we needed to open up the space, not just to multiple churches, multiple community agencies, but just everyone in general. And Birthright, a room on our second floor just off the elevator. It's just an old hotel room that has been converted into an office for them. And from there, the second floor is also where our food and clothing outreach is located. And so we've got several of the old hotel suites at the other end of the hall where our clothing outreach is for men's clothing, women's clothing, and children's clothing. And what Birthright found was that there really wasn't options for baby clothing anywhere in there, or maternity clothing for that matter. And so both of those services operate by appointment right now, just because of the way things are with the pandemic and the variants and all that. But what they offer with Birthright is, of course, any kind of I'll just to put it very simply, if someone is pregnant or thinks they might be pregnant, Birthright is there to walk alongside that potential mom or that mom. And they've always done a really great job with that as an international organization, and locally they've done a phenomenal job with it, whether it's just offering out free pregnancy tests or some mentorship or just really any of those kind of things. And now by being in our building and being able to really offer out more, way more than what they were doing before as far as baby clothes or diapers or anything like that. But that office across the hall, it really allows them to make an impact if there are physical needs that these mothers have, whether it's they need baby clothes or maternity clothes or blankets, diapers, etc. But just the way that they get out over to us, it's just been blood work in their organization and in ours.
Yeah, so it's just again another helping hand, and that's what I like about Spencer is you guys are kind of the main pod, I should say, more of that, but you guys, the community and you guys help each other as a whole, and that's really amazing as well.
Yeah.
So, now, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but also on that floor you have His Hands Extended program. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so His Hands Extended is the name of our food pantry and clothing outreach, and that's one that has existed in this location for over 10 years now. So it was one of the things, as I said earlier, that the Dream Center had started, and served a lot of people during the time the Dream Center was in existence, and continues to serve a lot of people today. So previously, their volume was measured by pounds of food and articles of clothing. And when we got involved, they were giving out about 2 tons worth of food on a monthly basis and about 2,000 articles of clothing. So those numbers too have tapered off just a little bit, not a whole lot. And during the pandemic, the height of it, of course, the food numbers increased tremendously, and the clothing completely stopped because we could not find a way to safely bring in clothing donations, or on the other side, distribute clothing. So that has gone a little bit back to normal by now as far as the clothing donations. So if people have old clothing that they want to get rid of, if it's lightly used, they can bring it down here to our building between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. Monday through Friday, and we gladly accept that. And we can we can then turn that around and distribute that on the second and fourth Thursday of each month from 2 until 5 p.m. That's when our clothing closet is open to the public, as well as our food pantry. And so the food Some of that comes from donations that people bring in. Some of it, quite a bit of it actually, is food rescue, which is the local grocery stores, the three big ones, Fairway, Hy-Vee, and Walmart, are so generous that they sometimes have things that they just don't have room for that need to go, and so they share those things with us and Upper Des Moines and other groups in the Clay County Hunger Coalition, and we're very grateful for that because that actually helps out two ways in our space. We of course have the kitchen that we talked about earlier, for a lot of the fresh produce that comes in and things like that. But then canned goods and those things work really well in our pantry, the non-perishables. And so that's another thing that if a person wanted to donate some non-perishable food items, the same hours, same place, right in our lobby is where that can be dropped off. But the 2 times per month where we distribute them mostly has been food lately that has been going out. And I don't have the numbers in front of me of exactly where that's at, but I know it's not too far off from where it always has been. It did taper off just a little bit, but the important thing to note about the food pantry here is it's another one of those no questions asked, come in and get served ministries, and we just love that about it because sometimes when you're in those positions of need like that, declaring your income and those things can sometimes be a barrier. There's definitely a time and a place for those kinds of things, and we're fortunate enough that we don't have to that comes through, but essentially the food that they're given is just come in and we'll we base it off of a menu system that's really based off the food pyramid, a couple different options in each category that the person could choose from, and they circle that when they come in. We hand those menus over to our volunteers. They go into the actual food pantry and pick it off the shelves for them and put it in a cart, and we actually do takeout here, kind of like at Fairway. So we've got some shopping carts that were donated from Hy-Vee, and we can wheel it right out to a person and for also during that time, if they need clothing, they can get that as well after they've picked out the food that they'd like. And during the checkout process, which is so that we can keep track of our inventory here, during the checkout process, we do that in our prayer room. And so at Grand Avenue, during that, if there's other issues that these individuals are having, we can learn about that in the prayer process, pray about those things, and after that, maybe offer out some other options of things that we can do to help. And of course, if it's not a service that we have within our building, we can always talk to some folks outside of the building that can help with a lot of those things too. Really the big issue right now that we haven't quite found the solution for yet is homelessness, but I'll say we're working on that one too as a community, not just within our building, but our partners and even some people that aren't our partners yet have been talking extensively over the last couple of years to try to find a viable solution for that. So that's his hands extended in a nutshell.
One thing I was gonna touch on a little bit is when you were talking about the food pantry menu selection. That's why I like you guys' food pantry, because a lot of times when people go to food pantries, they're not really thinking about, okay, this goes with this and this goes with this meal. That way, they know, okay, this goes with that and that goes with that, and that type of thing. So, I think that's just pretty neat.
Yeah, it's been really nice to get back to the menu system.
Yeah.
There was a time where we weren't able to safely offer that out, and so we had prepackaged boxes to go out during the height of COVID, and it kind of takes away a little bit of that. Well, the selection, of course, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit type approach to things. It's not always the best way to deal with hunger mitigation and food insecurity. So I'm glad we're back to the menu system now, and I think the people that come in every other Thursday are also glad for that.
Yeah. And then after we get back, we will talk more about other programs that they have in their building. And yeah, so I will see you guys after the sponsorship break.
Hi, this is Travis at Bram Shoe Fit in Storm Lake, Iowa. We invite you to come browse our huge selection of inventory ranging from kids' shoes to ladies' shoes and men's shoes. We carry multiple brands, different casual dress shoes for both men's and ladies. We have boots for men's and ladies, winter boots for men's, ladies, and kids. We also have a huge selection of smart wool socks for both men's and ladies. Along with all our inventory, we do have 2 big sale racks for both men's, ladies, and kids with a variety of different inventory ranging from sandals to boots to athletic shoes. We also carry a bunch of athletic shoes with brands such as Hoka, Asics, New Balance, On, and Brooks.
Call Travis and his team at 712-732-3432. Visit his store at 618 Lake Avenue, Storm Lake, Iowa, 50588. Need custom clothing for your next event? Up in Stitches has been serving since 2011. Call them at 641-842-2223 for your next event, or visit their website at upinstitches.com.
Hi, my name is KevinBrown, and I'm the owner of Game State, the largest game store in the U.S., and we are located in Spencer, Iowa. We are currently in the process of trying to become the largest game store in the world, and by doing that, we're going to purchase the building that we are currently in and then expand that to other businesses as well, in addition to growing our own space to completely fill the existing location. And if you choose to try to help us out with that, then we have a number of different ways you can do that. You can find us on Facebook, just Game State Games, and we do have a website as well, GameStateGames.com, and through either of those 2 locations you can figure out if you want to try to help us out with expanding the location, or if you want to pass that word along. There's plenty of ways for you to do. You can find us at Game State Games on Facebook and see all of the events that we do and all of our programs that we have every single night of the week, and all of our special events that we do, whether it's Magic tournaments or Warhammer or X-Wing or board game nights or family nights, and see if there's anything there that you like. We hope to see you here in the shop. Find us on Facebook, find us on our website, and we hope to see you here in the store.
I am back with Kevin Brown from Grand Avenue Community Outreach. Like you saw in the first part before we went to the break, it really takes a community to get together and to be able to pull something together like this. So now, as we go to the 3rd floor of your building, that is designated to all those yesterdays. Do you want to kind of touch on that?
Yeah, so the 3rd floor is a little bit unique right now. So on our brochure that's available in our lobby and on our website, it does a floor-by-floor breakdown of everything that's in our building. And right now, the only service available on the 3rd floor is, for now, just it's an office. We took one of the old suites up there and converted it into an office for a man named Ryan Jensen. He owns the company or organization, All Those Yesterdays, integrated mental health and substance abuse counseling. And that is an organization that was created in May of 2019, right around there. If you think back that far, that's when Compass Point, that was here in Spencer, closed their doors. And so Ryan was actually employed by Compass Point as a substance abuse counselor. licensed with the state of Iowa for substance abuse treatment and counseling. And when Compass Point closed, he had this inkling that he needed to start his own practice. And around that time, of course, we had been around for a little while as a building, and he knew that we were open to working with other organizations after seeing what happened with Birthright and the success that they had by coming here. And so when I stepped in as executive director at the beginning of 2019, we were 4 or 5 months in when Compass Point closed, and that was a sad time in our community for substance abuse treatment. And fortunately, Ryan answered the call and opened up his own practice, and of course did that right here in our building. So he has an office on our 3rd floor there. Like I said, that he has expanded his services. During his time at Compass Point, he was going to school to get his master's degree, and he wanted to practice mental health counseling and therapy as well. And so by the time he opened his own practice, he has the ability to cover both those co-occurring illnesses, whether it's mental health or substance abuse treatment. And he is really known in this area, actually across the state, for being a certified EMDR therapist. And so it's a technique that's used in therapy to really dive down deep and figure out the base issue behind some mental health issues that some people experience. And so he's one of the few people that are certified for it in the state, or licensed for it, I should say. But he does a lot of work with that particular type of therapy with his mental health clients. And so I always like to point that out because it is kind of the way of the future, and there's a lot of good things to be said about that particular type of treatment. Now, I'm not a licensed substance abuse or addiction or mental health counselor by any means. I'm just basing this off of what people have told me and research that I've done. So take that with a grain of salt. Ryan, I think, is the only licensed mental health counselor in our building at this point in time. But he inhabits space on the 3rd floor. We're talking with another organization about doing some work on that floor as well. And then eventually, when we get the building renovation completed, we might shuffle some things around and hope to do some housing on that floor. But for now, the 3rd floor is where Ryan is located with his business, or his practice, I should say.
Yeah, and I was gonna kind of back you up too on your research a little bit. I feel comfortable saying this today, so I'm going to say it. I've done some EMDR. Is that how you say it? I think so. Therapy, and so it's just a very good technique to be able to move on from what's happened in the past, and so you can move on in the future. And it's really intense at first, but when you work through it, it's really good. So it is a good thing.
That's good to hear, and that's exactly what I've heard. I'm glad you shared that, Dakota. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then so we go to the 4th floor then, which I believe is in part of remodel with the 5th floor.
Yeah, well, so the 4th floor is where all those yesterdays got their start, and they recently moved to the 3rd floor. And the 4th floor right now, over the last few months, has been home to a couple different offices of the Family Crisis Center. So when they first came in the building, it wasn't too long after Ryan Jensen came with his counseling office. Family Crisis Center came in, and they, of course, the big part of what they do is offer advocacy on behalf of survivors of domestic violence. And so one of their advocates came here on our 2nd floor back in May or June of 2019. And now they have expanded their services in our building as well. So like I said, there's a couple offices now. They still have the office for the advocate, which is on our 4th floor, as well as their WISH unit, which is kind of the homicide unit of things. So a little bit more morbid of a topic, but something that's needed nonetheless. And so the WISH unit operates also on the 4th floor. And of course, there's been some talk of expanding that even further as well. And then really when we dive down into it, of what things are going to look like over the next few months as the renovation gets started. But then from there, we may even see some shelter for those survivors, just to get them out of the situations that they're in. So we're still in talks with the Family Crisis Center and CASA and everybody else that works in that realm around our area to figure out what the biggest need would be and how this building can serve in that need. And so Family Crisis Center has been a wonderful partner of ours, and I've just got nothing but good things to say about the way that they've grown as an organization over the past several years, and especially just the last couple years that they've been in our building with their Clay County offices. It's been really nice to get to know them, and we've seen some really neat things happen from them being here. And then, of course, the most important part, their clients have a safe place to go and meet and talk about the things that they need to talk about or deal with the situations that they need to deal with.
Yeah. And, in a community, and possibly if you're listening in your community, domestic violence and stuff like that happens more than what people realize as a individual. So
yes, it's been really nice to have the resources here that the Family Crisis Center brings, and it's also nice that the offices for CASA really aren't too far away either. In fact, they're very close to us, and we work very, very closely with them as well. They deal with more of the sexual assault side of these crimes, but them and Family Crisis Center and us and a lot of other players in the community have really been good about working together on things when those things come up, because it's a very sensitive area. When you start dealing with sexual assault and domestic violence and those sorts of crimes. And I think a lot of folks think that those things only happen to females, and that's not true either. There are a certain number of male clients that both those organizations have that we work with. And so I think it's just a matter of really getting the word out that these services are available and that it's okay to ask for those services, just to reduce some of the stigma that's around those things. And the goal here is to really make it even more safe for those survivors that do come forward. So more to come on some of that as far as housing shelter goes for those organizations, but we'll see what God has planned for us. We've been in the design phase of our shelter and temporary housing in our community. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. But the renovation, of course, is a little bit more than just making it a safe place again. We of course, want to make this building shine again like it did 100 years ago when it was built. So
it's really great services, and it's a really tough topic, but it's something that is available for the people that need it. So then we go to the basement of the hotel, and you guys have a little bit of everything going on down there. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So I love the basement of this building. It is just such a neat place. When you come into the lobby, a lot of times you can hear all of the positive energy coming out of the basement. If you come in during normal business hours between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m. on a weekday, most times you'll find that Hope Haven's Dayhab program is in the basement. It is their home base. Folks that have been around the community for a while might know it as Sunshine Services. Yep. But Hope Haven has acquired that, and that is kind of split right now between the old Sunshine building on the east side of town and the basement here in our downtown location. And so those that have been around in the community for a while might remember that as the old event center before we had an event center here. And so a lot of wedding receptions, and it's just so awesome with the energy that the staff and everybody has. It's I could talk all day about how much it's been a blessing to have the group here. But aside from that, the next office down on the other side of the hall down there is the offices for the American Red Cross and the United Way. So they share one big office in the basement. They're each of them are here occasionally. The United Way Fund to Drive is about to kick off, and so we'll be seeing more of you. So those two offices are down there. And then in the evenings, a couple nights a week, you can find a 12-step meeting down there. So if you're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous and need a meeting for that happens on Saturdays at 7:30 p.m. And that particular meeting is an open meeting, which means anybody can come into that one. Typically, we see a lot of family members of alcoholics come to that one. Sometimes they come with their alcoholic in recovery family member, and sometimes maybe the alcoholic in their life hasn't made it to recovery yet, and so they will come in by themselves and share with everyone else in the room of what it is that they're doing to try to find serenity in this world. So that's a really great meeting. Of course, they last typically about an hour on those Saturday nights. And then on Tuesday nights at 7:00 p.m., Narcotics Anonymous meets down there. And so if anyone is struggling with addiction to any kind of drug or substance, including alcohol, they're invited to come to Narcotics Anonymous on Tuesday nights in our basement. Other than that, the rest of the basement is mechanical rooms and fun things like that. Our elevator pits down there, just things along those lines. But yeah, the basement, you're right, is kind of multi-purpose.
Yeah.
And I should mention, if a person wanted to come to one of those 12-step meetings, they actually would enter, there's a stairwell on our south side of the building on 6th Street. And so you'd enter down that stairwell. And of course, we do have an elevator that functions very well in our building. And so if there's a need for that, for accessibility, we have that as well. So everyone's welcome to those meetings. Of course, you probably only want to come if you're looking for recovery from drugs or alcohol, but that is something that's available for everyone in the community, and there shouldn't be any barriers to get to it. So
again, it's a helping hand. It's there if you need it, for those two programs as well as Hope Haven. I will talk a little bit about that myself. I am actually sitting right here in the Sunshine Center, so I'm very grateful for the Sunshine Center, and so so yeah, I'm very, very grateful that I'm able to be here and be happy and stuff like that. So, and also,
well, it's Hope Haven must be doing something right, because every time, like I said earlier, the energy level when you come into the building and hear that, it's pure joy. And I think in the world we live in today, any excuse a person can get to find joy, they should take advantage of it. In fact, I know that the group downstairs here is always looking for people to come in from the community to hang out when they're here. And so whether that's coming in and playing a game of cards or putting a puzzle together, whatever that is, those are some opportunities for people in the community to come in. And the cool thing about being in downtown Spencer is it's centrally located, and that can be done. So yeah, we'd encourage people to come in and check the schedule with the group here and get involved.
Yeah, it is amazing. And then also one more thing, they are hiring in many locations. So if you guys are interested, please go to Hope Haven, www.hopehaven.org, and then you can find where you apply there, and you can apply in Storm Lake, you can apply in Spencer, wherever it may be. So now so now we talked about all these amazing programs at Grand Community Outreach. Can you tie it all together with you guys' mission statement?
Absolutely. So if people aren't familiar with our mission statement, it's listed right on our website in the brochures that we put out, and it's really important because we spent a lot of time in the beginning trying to make sure that this mission statement would encompass everything we thought we were going to do, and it's really cool to see how all of the partners and programs that have come in here in the last 2 or 3 years that we've been here have really kind of shone a light on that mission statement as well as fit in with it. And so the statement is that Grand Avenue Community Outreach, or GACO, GACO, is an ecumenical, volunteer-driven nonprofit organization that provides social services and outreach programs designed to meet the physical, spiritual, and long-term needs of people in Northwest Iowa and beyond. So we didn't want to limit ourselves to just helping people in Spencer or downtown Spencer, or even Clay County for that matter. We see people come in for some of our services from all over Northwest Iowa and beyond. The dental clinic is an example of some patients from the VA in Sioux Falls have been known to come down to our dental clinic because they like the services here. Sometimes it might be a little quicker than the VA, and so it's really neat to see where people come from when they do come here. But as far as our partners go, I mean, that's what they do. They provide outreach programs and social services to the community as a whole. And what really makes that cool for us is, of all the things that we talked about today, I'd say less than half of it are things that we directly oversee. Most of the great things that happen out of this building are through our partners. And with that being said, we get together at least once a month in person in our conference room as partners, the directors of each of the programs and volunteer directors here at GACO. And we talk about what's going on in each of our different areas of this building. And that's where we've seen some really neat new ideas come up on how we can all work together to better serve the community. And I think that's also kind of a selling point when new organizations are looking to come to our space, is this community within the community that we have here. And this whole concept of no wrong door. When a person comes in to 605 Grand Avenue in downtown Spencer, if it's not something that we have in this building, between all of our partners, we're all connected in different areas outside of the building, and we can get people the help that they need or the advice they're looking for or whatever it is anywhere around here. And that's been really neat. And like I said before, the one thing that we've all struggled with is trying to find temporary housing. And again, that's something that we are working on. We've taken that under our wing as Grand Avenue Outreach to try to solve that problem, because we've got other rooms in the building that are perfectly suited for temporary housing and shelter. In fact, like I said in the beginning, the Dream Center used to use some of the rooms for that. And so we've had some issues here where our building is not safe enough to house people overnight. The fire marshal has come in and given us a list of the things that we need to do to get things back up to code. And so that's what we've been working on for the last couple of years. And that's the big reason that started this renovation project that we've undertaken in the last several months. And it tied in really well with the book that we just wrote about the Tangi family and the Tangi Hotel. 100 years of the hotel in Spencer, and how Spencer has complemented the growth of the hotel, and how the hotel has complemented the growth of Spencer. And that book and the research that was done by the author Arla Kinney has been extremely beneficial as we work through the design phase of this renovation. So we've unearthed some old pictures and designs and things from 100 years ago that we can tie into it as we move forward. So like I said, it's way more than making the building safe again. We want to make the building shine again too. And I think that most people in this community that have been around for a long time want to see this building do well. That was why we got involved in the first place when the Dream Center was heading downhill. We wanted to save this building down here, and of course further the mission of helping people, no matter what their story is. We want to be a part of the story, and in many cases a part of that second chance that folks get at life, or third or fourth or fifth or seventh chance, or whatever that is. A lot of our friends here at the outreach have been dealt some pretty bad circumstances by life, and we work together here to try to fix those things. So.
Yeah, and I mean, you guys, again, are working. If there's a problem, you guys turn around and you try to fix that problem. And that's what I like about Grand Avenue Community Outreach too, is if there's a problem or if someone needs help that you guys can't provide, you find it, so that is very good. So with the renovation though, I do have a couple questions about that. If people wanted to donate paint or donate nails or whatever it may be, are you guys at that step to where they can start bringing that kind of stuff in?
Not quite yet. So I'm not exactly sure when this will air, but as of today, as we're recording this, we are wrapping up the design phase. Kind of early fall is what we're looking at there to complete that. And at that point, the project then goes out to bid to different contractors around the country that want to bid on this job. And at that point, once we've selected the contractor to do the work, then we have a little bit more freedom on what we can use as far as donated materials or time or things like that, or if we can't, and part of it is that this is a project funded primarily by the state of Iowa, and so we're kind of bound by their restrictions on that. But it will come down to whatever the contractor will allow us to do, and we would love to use as much volunteer labor as we possibly can, and potentially supplies too, especially with the way that material costs have been lately. But that's just something that we don't know the answer to right now. So if we get that answer, I'll be happy to share it with you, and you can share that as well in maybe a future episode or maybe just a little snippet on your page.
I will update you guys if I do hear anything or I see anything. I will make sure I update you guys as well. Then I will get back on track here. How can people volunteer at the Grand Avenue Community Outreach Center?
Yeah, that's a great question, and kind of ties into that last one a little bit. So outside of the renovation, there are plenty of opportunities to volunteer around here with us or our partner organizations. So I can't speak specifically about our partners and where they need the volunteer needs, but they're easy to get a hold of. If you have our brochure, all of the contact information is listed for each of them. But the things that we directly oversee primarily would include our food ministries. There's probably a bigger need for that. I've talked a little bit about the needs that our medical and dental clinics have, but for any of those things, whether it's medical, dental, food, clothing, or administrative work, janitorial work, whatever, the best way would be to either email me, and my email address is info@gacoutreach.com, or if it's between 9 a.m. and 2 p.m., you could call here to the Outreach Center and talk to Megan, and that phone number is 712-580-4732. Megan is an absolute delight to talk to. Even if you don't want to volunteer, you just want somebody to talk to. Megan's awesome for that. So yeah, she is the perfect face for our building when people come in, and we are so blessed to have her here. So that's one way. And then you could also find us on Facebook or even on our website. We have a contact form at the bottom, and it's gacoutreach.com. G as in grand, A as in avenue, C as in community, and then the word outreach.com.
And I will also have all that information posted in the video podcast form and in the podcast sound form, I guess is what you would call it. I will have all that information down below in the description. And then my last question, let's say a busy family from a different town or what, they want to help out, but they live out of state or they are just too busy. And if they choose to give in another way, which is income, how can they do that?
That's a great question too, and financial gifts are always very much appreciated around here. Being private funded, it's as with all the nonprofits that I get to personally work with around town. That's always a hot topic, and we want to make that as easy as possible for people to give to our organization here because it helps benefit so many other organizations and their respective clients. And so, with that being said, that website is probably the easiest way for someone that lives out of town. I mean, they could, of course, mail a check. We take all our mail at 605 Grand Avenue in Spencer 51301. But electronically is probably a little easier. And so that website that I listed earlier, gacoutreach.com, if you add /give to the end of that, it'll take you to our giving page. And from there, you can fill out a little form on that of how you'd like to do that, whether you put in your credit card information, you can connect it with your banking information, your account number and routing number, and just do a simple transfer that way. The PayPal Giving Fund is something I've really been trying to push lately because PayPal recognizes us as a charitable organization, which means that they don't actually take fees out if you give that way. And so a lot of online giving platforms always get a cut of everything, but PayPal has been kind enough to offer us the giving fund. And so when someone gives via their PayPal account, 100% of that goes directly to our programming here. As with any of these things, you can specify where you want it to go. There's so many different things that you could give to around here. The administrative costs, the cost of just keeping this 100-year-old building heated and cooled and all that, as well as you could give specifically to the renovation or to our programs, which, like I said, is a lot with food ministry these days. And so if you have a heart for food ministry, you can specify that when you give. You can put it in the memo line of your check or put it in when you give online. And so those are probably the best ways to do it right now. We're also partnered with Amazon Smile. So if you go to smile.amazon.com, you can find us in there. And so if you choose to do your shopping online, you can actually, a percentage of that could come to our organization here. And that's been a really neat way for people to give, especially in the height of the pandemic when a lot of online ordering was happening. And we're also registered as a charity on Facebook. And so you can always do those Facebook fundraisers for us as well.
A lot of ways to give as well, and that's pretty cool that PayPal and Amazon has let you guys do that. That's just really cool. So, the social media connect. Where can people find you? Where can people find the Grand Community Outreach? Where can, all that good stuff?
Yeah, well, we found the best spot for us to be on social media is on Facebook. So we've got a couple different Facebook pages for different things in the building here. If you're inquiring or want to get involved specifically with the community meals in the kitchen there, that page is the Grand Avenue Community Kitchen page on Facebook. GACO Kitchen is the social media handle for that. And that links up directly with the program director for the kitchen. Her name's Kim Robinson. She was the one that God worked through to get the whole thing started, and she is still involved today, and she is a rock star. And then if you just have general inquiries or want to get in touch with us here at the building itself, we are GAC Outreach on Facebook. And there's a few different people in our organization that check those messages constantly. And so if you send a message on Facebook, you should get a pretty quick response on things if it's something that we can help with. And so I would encourage people to go that route or follow us on Facebook on both of those pages for updates on things in the kitchen and the building as a whole.
So a couple different pages to get depending on who you want to get connected with. I will also have all the website link. I will have all the social media links down below too as well. At this time, you can give any shout outs you would like to give to anyone, any businesses. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I probably don't say this enough, but we are eternally grateful to the folks at Atlas of Spencer for the work that they do in the community as well as for us. Personally, I'm sure I probably wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for David Lyons and his team at Atlas. They have been huge mentors to me and many other people in the community in a lot of different ways, but big cheerleaders too. And so when it comes to shout outs, I hate to list off places because I always feel like I'm going to miss somebody, but we've got a wonderful board of directors. Of course, Megan is a rock star, and our program directors here with Kim Robinson in the kitchen and Marcia Dirks in the food and clothing outreach. But yeah, Atlas is one of those ones that they're not in our building, but they might as well be because we're working with them so much on different situations that come up, and they're so good about walking with people and meeting them where they're at with whatever it is that life has dealt them. And of course, that's a big part of what we want to be able to do as time goes on here with things we're already offering, as well as the housing going forward. And we're just really glad to be working with Atlas on those things in the interim as we work together to try to figure out, especially with homelessness, that is a real thing here in Clay County, believe it or not. And we look forward to working with Atlas moving forward on that, as well as any other partners that are going to actually be involved with the oversight of the housing programming here, whatever that may look like. So that would be my shout out today. And then there's so many businesses in Spencer and beyond that have helped us, whether it's with in-kind contributions or financial gifts, and several couples and individuals that have given financially to make this all happen. Because like I said, without that, none of this would be here. In order for us to help the other nonprofits do what they do that are in our building, we need to have the lights on around here. And so there's several people in the community that give just to make that happen. And so we're grateful to them, and we would encourage more people to get involved as financial partners with us because of the long-term impact it has on other nonprofits in the area too. It's like one gift that comes here financially, the ripple effect and the way that it benefits other organizations in our realm is huge.
Yeah, I would say when you give a financial gift, you may not see an instant outcome, but when you guys expand and you do this and you do that, then that's when you see it.
Yeah.
So, and then I just want to thank you for letting me interview you and put you on the spotlight here. But it's been such a pleasure, and I hope to do more stuff with you guys in the future as well. So thank you. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me on. This has been just awesome, and I just love talking to you about this kind of stuff. And I hope that anybody listening out there, if there's questions, or even if you're someone who is maybe hurting with something right now, I really hope you reach out here and have Megan get you connected with somebody, even if you just want to talk to Megan.
Yeah. All right. This has been the Grand Avenue Community Outreach interview with KevinBrown. Everyone have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on The Dakota Show. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/The Dakota Show since 2017. And check out our merch at upinstitches.com/T/The Dakota Show. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss a show, and we'll see you next time.